Welcome to the Torah of Rabbi Immanuel Bernstein.
Welcome to Dimensions in Chumash by Rabbi Immanuel Bernstein. I'm Steve Geller, and I'm really excited to bring you a piece from this amazing sefer on Parshas Chayei. As he so brilliantly does, Rabbi Bernstein takes us right into a famous episode we're all familiar with and answers all of our questions by making us feel that we ourselves are there in real time. Much of this week's Parsha is devoted to the Torah's description of Eliezer's quest to find a wife for Yitzchak. And not only does the Torah recount this episode itself in fine detail, it also includes Eliezer's retelling of it again in full. There must be a good reason for this, and it's exactly the mystery we're going to explore ourselves. The Midrash addresses this repetition of the story. The conversation of the servants of the patriarchs is more beautiful before Hashem than the Torah of the descendants, for the section dealing with Eliezer is presented twice, while many primary Torah laws are only imparted through allusion. This is certainly a powerful assertion and beautiful imagery, but it doesn't really address the repetition itself. It only adds a new question we'll need to address. Why is the patriarch's servants' conversation more beautiful than the laws of the Torah itself? To begin our understanding of all this, we will see upon closer scrutiny, Eliezer's account of the story is not an exact repetition of the Torah's telling of the story. Rabbi Bernstein shows us that there are actually several differences between the two accounts that materially change the story being told. Here are some examples. Avraham tells Eliezer that he must go El Artzi ve'el Moladati, to my land, to my birthplace. But when Eliezer later tells the story, he quotes Avram as telling him to go El Beis Avi ve'el Mishpachti, go to my father's house and to my family. As soon as Rivka has given both Eliezer and his camels to drink, he gives her the jewelry and then asks who she is. But when he recounts the story later, he first mentions that he asked who she was and only then says that he gave her the jewelry. The Torah told us exactly what happened, so these differences certainly require understanding. Why in the world would Eliezer think it necessary or appropriate to depart even slightly from the events as they actually happened? The key to this matter lies in understanding Avraham's original instructions to Eliezer and then recognizing how the entire mission went sideways halfway through. Avraham's instruction to Eliezer was for him to find a wife for Yitzchak in his hometown, in Haran, although Avraham never even mentioned his family there. The Malbim explains, in fact, that his family did not feature in Avraham's original plan at all. Avraham simply felt that, in general, the inhabitants of Haran were the type of people from whom a suitable young girl could be found for Yitzchak. We see in the pasuk that stipulates only that she come from my land and my birthplace. No mention of his family. This means the only determining factor of a wife for Yitzchak would be anyone who exhibits exemplary character traits and generosity of spirit. This is why, when Eliezer arrives at Haran, he makes his way not to Bethuel's house, but rather to the well in order to conduct his test and find a wife for Yitzchak. A public well is a good spot to set up an interaction with strangers in a way that could indicate their base nature. Eliezer reasoned that a family which was prepared to regularly send its daughter outside of the city to draw water would hopefully be agreeable to letting her leave the city for a good marriage. Throughout all this planning, Avraham's family could not be further from Eliezer's mind. It's actually interesting to think that, as far as Eliezer's plan was concerned, Avraham's family will never even need to know that he was there. This explains why, as soon as the girl Eliezer approaches had passed his test with flying colors, he gives her the jewelry before even asking her name. In that moment, her family didn't matter. Of course, Eliezer eventually needs to ask her name, but to find out who this wonderful young girl actually is and what name to put on the wedding invitation. So far, so good. Eliezer's plan was working perfectly. Let's seal the deal, then beat it out of town. Well, not so fast there, Eliezer. You see, Avraham's family was not part of Eliezer's plan, but they were part of Hashem's plan, who arranged that the girl who Eliezer approached and who passed the test was Rivka, Avraham's niece. Indeed, we can only imagine Eliezer's utter astonishment upon hearing that the girl who had passed his test was none other than the granddaughter of Nahor, Avraham's brother. So Rivka is, beyond a doubt, the one for Yitzchak. It's also clear that Eliezer is in a pickle. If Eliezer tells her family the story exactly the way it occurred, he'll practically guarantee the failure of this mission. If they hear that they were completely incidental to Avraham's plan, they would understandably be much less enthusiastic about the shidduch. Eliezer realizes this, and in order for everything to work out, he will need to retell the entire story with them as the focus, from the beginning. This will require a number of on-the-fly adjustments, the first among them being massaging Avraham's original instructions from "go to my land, to my birthplace," to Eliezer's revision of the story saying that Avraham told him to go to my father's house and to my family. Of course, a major piece in Eliezer's retelling of the story will be the test at the well. Think about it. If he was only ever meant to come to Avraham's family, what is the purpose of stopping off at the communal well outside of the city to conduct a test that anyone could pass? For this, Eliezer resourcefully weaves this element of the story into his presentation, making it even more ambitious than it originally was. Now, in hindsight, he can claim that in order to seek absolute divine approval for the match, he set up a test where the only one who passed would be from Avraham's family. How so? In retelling the part where Rivka had passed the test, Eliezer reversed the order of his actions, now saying that first he asked her name and only then did he give her the gifts. According to this new version of the events, he could not have given her the gifts prior to finding out who she was. What if she was not from Avraham's family? Wasn't that what the test was all about? Therefore, he says that first he asked her for her name, and when she turned out to be from his master's family, representing the success of his test, he then gave her the gifts. Understanding Eliezer's retelling in this light illuminates the entire chapter. There's yet another element to this story, which we're all familiar with, but which now reveals a whole new dimension to Eliezer's actions. The sages inform us that Eliezer had his own ideas for a match for Yitzchak, his daughter. When he communicated this, Avraham rejected this proposal and instructed him instead to find a girl from Haran. Imagine throughout his entire mission, Eliezer was working against his own self-interest. And this brings us to the changes in Eliezer's story. No one could have faulted him for being completely honest, telling Basul and Lovin the episode exactly as it occurred. And if that should lead to the match breaking down, that would be regrettable, but due to no fault of Eliezer. I mean, these things happen, right? In the end, however, Eliezer's faithfulness to his master overcame such an inclination, and that faithfulness expressed itself not only in carrying out his instructions to the letter, but also in enlisting his resourcefulness and ingenuity to see that the outcome would be the best for his master. Such selflessness and dedication to a higher ideal in the face of one's own preferred outcome is indeed a very beautiful thing to behold. And this brings us full circle. This is the quality that the sages had in mind when they referred to the beauty of the conversation of the patriarch's servants. In this regard, there is an overarching lesson contained in this story that relates to the Jewish people themselves. Our relationship with Hashem is likewise that of servants to a master, and in this, our role model is the quintessential servant of the entire book of Bereishis, Eliezer. Indeed, the particular laws of the Torah can effectively be derived from mere allusion in a verse, using the principles of halachic exposition. But in contrast, the lesson of what it means to be a servant specifically emerges from the Torah recounting in full not only the episode itself, but also in replaying it, this time set to the beautiful action of a faithful servant. It's a perfect portrait for our appreciation and admiration, but also an opportunity for us to model in our own lives.